IVF has given millions the chance to have a successful pregnancy, but the journey to get there is often far more complicated than you think.
Well, joining us now to discuss the messy truth behind IVF are Anna and Will May and fertility coach Helena Tubridy. You're all very welcome to the show. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
We'll start with you guys. You two of you met, got together, started a relationship. You knew that this was your life partners.
Yeah.
So when did the thought of children come into the conversation? Or was it even a conversation?
It was never really a conversation that we had. No, it was just something that was never nothing we didn't want to happen.
Yeah.
We both knew, like, there was no, do you want them? It was just like, we knew from each other that we did both want kids.
Yeah, and I suppose for I hate to say this normal, but I mean, the supposition in life, you meet, you fall in love, you want to get married or have a serious relationship, you want to have kids, you practice and you have a baby. And that's straightforward for the majority of people, let it be said. But at what point did you realise that it wasn't actually working for you?
I think before we got married, we were kind of like, let's not stop it, let's not try, let's just
see what happens.
And then if it happens, it happens. And then it was kind of, okay, it's not happening, let's try, let's do the ovulation test, let's, you know. And then after the wedding, about a year in, I think, or maybe 6 months in.
Yeah, we kind of both knew, but we hadn't spoken about it.
Yeah, I said,
kind of a conversation we didn't have.
Do you think we should book something, like just get tested, see where we stand? Because I was like, I want like to be pregnant or have a baby before I'm 30. Like I want that, you know. And I'm tired of waiting now. I'm watching all my friends have these babies.
But people talk about female intuition. You did actually say to somebody,
if you were to ask my mum or Will's mum, I would have had a conversation with them 2 years before we even went for testing. And I said, I feel like we'll need a little bit of help. I said it to both of them on different occasions. And I remember both of them were like, no, there's no reason. You're young. And I was just, you know, you just feel, sometimes you just know there's something.
There's a huge concentration on the mother, I suppose, when it comes to fertility struggles, but it can be quite upsetting, taxing and hard to deal with for men as well, who are often overlooked in this.
Yeah, you kind of feel from the man's side it's difficult to watch. I know my personal opinion was I have to watch her go through it as well as try control it myself and try keep her calm. And it's difficult to do it from my side, not taking anything away from what the women go through, but it's just hard to try comfort her and tell her everything will be fine and it'll work out and everything's all right, but I don't know. I'm just trying to comfort her.
I remember he said, if I could do it all and take all the injections, I would. I hate watching you do it, knowing I can't take over when you're having a hard day or you don't want to do this needle. Or I remember him saying, I wish I could just do it for you, you know, but the men can't. Like, it's just...
Helena, when someone is making that decision to actually go and look for help and find out what issues are facing them, what is the process like? What is the first thing that you would advise to do?
I guess even before, I think realising that fertility is nestled within general health. So having an awareness if there's any underlying conditions and, you know, being aware of things, even, you know, from get-goes like STIs, which are rife among young people now. So the sense of layering it up, project managing, that you don't suddenly leap in. A lot of people see IVF as a silver bullet, but there's so much that you can do beforehand. And it's great that you guys had an awareness and, you know, you weren't sort of hanging around. And, you know, but the sense that, you know, with your own GP, good medical eye, to see what's what and know your basics, and making sure if there's anything like diabetes or any other condition, that's in train. Also, obviously, you know, the lifestyle things of diet, wellness, sleep, exercise, and realising it does take two to tango. And even if it does, as you said, Elaine, seem very predicated on the woman's body, what she's doing and not doing, that the guy is 50% of the equation, two to tango, and to make sure that, you know, both people are on the same page, making those changes and shifts. And even things like, you know, seriously strategic supplements that really make a difference. And obviously, you know, the mindset aspect is so important. I have people saying to me, I wish I'd known what it involved beforehand. I didn't realise that there was the physical impact and the emotional toll.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're talking about emotional toll. Stress is also a massive, massive player in this.
It's the same stress as the diagnosis of cancer. It's that huge. And you're often managing it in isolation because you're not telling too many people perhaps. It's private, it's sensitive, you're very vulnerable, and you're carrying on work, career, whatever you're doing. And it's just so much, it is like another job. That's what I find. And the sense of, documenting everything, knowing where you're at, you do need to be well informed and well supported, don't you?
Absolutely,
And that was one of the best things we did. And we did discuss who do we tell, and ultimately we were like, our friends are going to say, what's wrong with Will and Anna? They're not coming out, they're not drinking, they're not doing this, they're maybe staying in because their injection has to stay in the fridge and it has to be taken at this time. And I think that was one of the best things we did. And I'm not sorry that we told everybody. I do wish we could give everyone that element of surprise sometimes, oh my God, we're pregnant. They were all waiting just as much as we were, but it was nice to have support.
Kind of took the pressure off.
We're much more supportive.
Yeah.
You feel not as alone when others are with you.
Yeah, and I suppose that for years, I suppose there was a kind of a stigma, the whole test tube baby awfulness that was going around. But did you find that has dissipated, or was that something that was in the back of your mind as well?
I think that has dissipated. I don't think people think anymore like test tube baby. But I do think if you speak to someone and say Lyla's an IVF baby, they'll say, oh, our 10-year-old is an IVF baby. We might have known them for 6 years. They would never have openly said, oh, this is our baby, this is our IVF baby. Whereas we always say,
very open,
we had her through IVF and we're so lucky and so blessed that, we got a baby out of it, But other people, it's much on the down low kind of.
Say nothing.
Especially our own age group. Our own age group they don't really discuss it at all.
Is it because you expected an older parent, whereas you were quite young?
I think our age was a factor. I can't remember who I said it to, and I said, oh, we're going to get tested. And they said, you're very young, would you not give it another few years? And I was saying, we're taking the supplements, we're eating the foods, we're using the ovulation tests, we're timing it, we're doing everything. There's, why wait another year? Why start now?
Find out when you're young.
So we did it, but I remember someone else. But I think that's a point that people should, even if you're single and you're 23 years of age, find out your own fertility if you want. There's no harm getting tested on your own and knowing what's ahead of you in the future. If there's something you can do about it younger, then I think, like you said, Helena, general health, it's
very important.
Obviating a lot of heartache and huge cost. And also, I think realising, going into it, that people often don't realise that, the cost is usually given as just the treatment, but the meds aren't included and the add-ons aren't included. Yeah. So somebody said it's like a hemorrhage of money, but yet you don't want to put, how can you put a price on a baby? So the sense that, IVF, it's so uncertain, and that's, going back to...
You're paying for a chance.
You're paying
for a chance, you're paying for hope. Yeah. You're not paying for a baby.
And, people don't realise that, the devastating loss of miscarriage, and that, the stress and the impact and the PTSD of, the loss, a failed IVF is massive. 93% of women will suffer depression after a failed IVF and take it personally. And the miscarriage rate is sadly and tragically very high. So you can get a positive pregnancy test and then find you're dealing with something you hadn't expected.
Yeah. And that did happen to you.
Yeah, that did. That was our first. We had 2 embryos. One is our lovely Lyla, but one we did miscarry. That was our first one, and we were devastated.
Yeah, it knocked us.
I would have preferred a failed round of IVF than to give us everything we wanted. Yeah. And then in that one day, it's...
The overall picture, though,
was... Away.
To our IVF clinic, it was positive. They said, look, we know this is very difficult, but
you
got
get
pregnant. You can have a baby. This is definitely something.
So there was some consolation.
And we have Lyla, and we're so lucky.
So blessed.
She is amazing.
Yeah,
I was hoping you'd bring her here. I wanted this baby snuggles.
She's out the back somewhere, hopefully not crying.
she is a boss.
Yeah,
she is gorgeous.
Yeah. I can only imagine that moment when she was born.
It was. I remember saying to him before we had her, I can't wait to look at you and say, we did it, because them 9 months, they were the scariest 9 months in my life.
Absolutely.
And by the way, you use the word we, because in situations like this, Helena, blame can be apportioned when people are trying for a baby.
Yes,
So it is important that you remain as a team.
It was
Absolutely.
always
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
Before, when we got tested, I remember saying, if we do this, I don't care whether it's a problem on my side or your side.
It's an us
We
problem.
need to do IVF collectively together to have a baby.
Yeah.
We have to do it, not because of you, not because of me, because collectively. And it doesn't need to be a conversation with everyone as to why or who's, or it's Will's fault, it's Anna's fault. Just we have to do this to
And I
have a
think
baby.
exactly the idea of fault, it's just what a couple is given in life to deal with together.
Yeah.
And I find, a lot of people are very worried about, the impact of this on relationships. But generally, I find most people actually become stronger through it. But,
We'd just come out of COVID lockdown, so
yeah,
this was
which
easy.
is really tough.
I booked it before COVID lockdown ended our testing, and I was due back to work the day our testing. I was like, this is typical. But I told work from the get-go, and we just went from there.
And it's great to get support from work, and that's why I'm doing a lot more talks for corporates and various other organisations. They're really getting an awareness of fertility policies, miscarriage policies, looking after people, retaining good people, and being more open that, it's just...
There's like a couple of companies I've seen have come out and they have fertility days. Like outside of your sick days, outside of your holidays, there's days allocated if you're going through fertility treatment.
We were both very blessed with our employers at the time.
Yeah, and I changed jobs, and even my new employers, that's when I got pregnant on Lyla, they were very, very good.
The
as well.
evolution is so much better now
Yeah.
in terms of women's health and awareness than it was even 10, 20 years ago, even 5 years ago, really. But we're delighted you had such a happy outcome.
So we're
Worth all the sleepless nights.
Yeah, worth every single bit.
I know. Lyla is a very lucky girl to have two parents.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
so much.
Thank you all so much for joining us on the show this
Thanks for
morning.
having us.
Good health and not so much sleepless nights.